How are you?
Hey, how are you? Let
I'm
me
doing
just
doing well. Doing some
turn on
testing.
the otter thing, and I'll explain what this is for anybody who accesses the tape in a second. Otter, one second here. There it goes. Record. Got it. Make sure I'm recording. Yes, I am. Okay. Hey, how you doing? Jennifer Navarrete should show up any moment.
Okay,
I
sure,
should
sure.
try to. Let me see if I can. Oh, I'm not as good at. I'm a good multitasker usually, but man, this is just driving me crazy. Um, Let me see. How do you spell her name? Well, I'll just do Jennifer. There she is. Um, you don't have my usual music now.
George,
Yeah,
do you have a mixing board?
I do.
Oh, okay. Is it the Rodecaster or something else? I'm just curious.
It's the I don't. The Roadcaster is three times more expensive than it needs to be. I have the Zoom Pod. Let me give you the exact name here. Wait, I have to get out of the way of my own microphone. Oh, it doesn't. It only comes up on the screen. It's the Pod Track, I think it is.
Okay.
Pod Track P4, Rode Rode the Zoom Podcast P4.
Oh, that's the smaller, like thin
Yeah, it's a
device
small
with a
small one.
display.
Yeah, it was easy to take it to Israel. Just throw it in a bag. It's even battery powered. I never use the battery, but it's a good backup. Um,
Awesome,
so yeah,
awesome.
there's
Jennifer.
Jennifer. Here, good. I was waiting for Jennifer here. Invite to speak. Invite to co-host. Let me invite her to co-host. It's right next to the remove thing. Isn't that crazy? It's like they don't get human beings. All right. Hey Jennifer, how you doing?
Doing great. I was hearing you and Dr. M, and I could hear you very clearly, even though you were both talking over one another. I love this.
Okay, me too. And I'll tell you why. I don't know if you know the backstory, uh, but first of all, I just wanted to say I just your participation on the Jennifer, your participation on the uh, all things audio, whatever, it was terrific. I thought it was wonderful. I did want to come up earlier and say that your mic sounded a tiny bit muted, but it sounds perfect now.
Oh, well, I think the challenge is that because we're having to record separately as a hard recording for Sue's, I have two mics in my face. And
Well, but I
sometimes
don't.
it kind
I don't
of
know.
I get distracted on which mic I should be in front of. And so now I only have one mic I need to be in front of, and I'm right in front of it.
Uh, hey, let's see. I want to add Andrew as a speaker too. Um, yeah, the more the merrier. Please come up and speak because we're going to do some audio tests,
Are we
and we'll
gonna be
have.
talking over each other?
Yes.
Yes, we have some
Yes,
very.
that sounds
We have
like
some.
fun.
Jennifer's got a very well trained pair of ears and audio cortex in our brain, and me too. I've been doing audio audio only groups for 50 going on 53 years. 1969 first ones. uh so I have to be careful of my wording because we're hearing some noise there, Andrew. Yeah, okay, I don't know what. I think that was unintentional.
Yeah.
I thought he was being funny at first, or I would have called it out immediately. But yeah, it's what is now called audio, social audio, and in those days was called special interest group teleconferencing. We called all of it, all this kind of stuff, teleconferencing. And the term social audio, as far as I know, is only since 2020. But the precedents of it go back 53 years to 1969 when I did the first ones. So anyway, so I've been listening to this for a long time. It's I don't know if you know this, Jennifer. This is very interesting. When I've gone through, I think 5 or 6 iterations of telephone conference systems. And when the engineers build it, they always want to build in things. They don't understand group dynamics. So they want to build in all these special things to keep chaos from happening, which doesn't happen anyway. And so they build in what they called in those days, I don't know what they call it now, full duplexing. Full duplex means that when my microphone is active, your microphone is inactive. It's not actually your microphone, but the input from you coming in to me is cut off. And they felt that that would help people talk only one at a time. And I said, no, 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 no. You can't do it that way. And we had to get a physicist from Columbia University to invent a telephone conference system that wouldn't have audio feedback. The telephone company's audio setup did have audio feedback. It was terrible. It 1 in every 3 or more conference calls fell apart in feedback noises. And we just reconstituted the call. It's a robust medium. You can just stop it and start it again, and people just take off from where they were. But it was a real pain in the ass, and we developed. So this full duplex has been a bugaboo of mine for over 50 years. It cuts down the conversation. It's just terrible. Now, it does not matter in the kind of groups that are done most of the time, which is serial speechlets and no discussion whatsoever. Just one person talking after another person.
Well, I
You know,
think the real power is that it's more like real life. Like in real
exactly.
life, we talk over one another, not to
Right.
be rude, but just because
Exactly.
conversations ebb and flow. And the fact that I can still hear you and you
See,
can still
yes.
hear me is beautiful.
Yes. And I was doing that intentionally. Obviously, I kept interrupting you with, what I call audio gestures. Yeah. Right. Got it. Because if you're talking into a void, now, those of us who've been doing these kinds of things and podcasting and radio for a long time, it's nothing to talk into a void. But most normal human beings can't talk into a void without some feedback. So if you're talking to somebody and they're just staring at you, no feedback at all, it's really disconcerting. Really, really disconcerting to most people. You got to at least nod or say,
Well, I like the audio
gotcha.
gestures. I'd never heard that before, but I think that's
That's my
exactly
term.
what it
Yes,
is. I
that's what
love
it
it.
is.
That's
Well,
great.
I heard that. That's what when I invented the telephone focus group, the research community, I was the most ridiculed guy in the whole research community, market research community. They literally laughed at me openly in conferences because obviously, as I had been trained in group dynamics, you have to see facial expressions and body language and gestures. Obviously, you can't have a discussion without it. Except that I had done by that time hundreds, maybe 1,000 telephone focus groups that just totally disproved that, despite my initial skepticism. Totally disproved it.
Well, so I'd like to hear from the folks in the
So,
audience.
well, here's
As
what
we're
we,
all, while
here,
we're talking over one another, can you hear both George and I, or Dr.
well,
M or
before we do
Tomas?
that, let's do a test.
Yes,
Let's
clearly.
okay.
Yeah.
Let's ask um, who's got a really good set of audio ears. Andrew, are you available? I know there was some noise, background noise. I don't know if are you
Yeah, I'm
able
here,
to speak?
George.
Okay, here's what I'd like to do. Are you up for a little test? I want you to be our eyes and ears. We'll maybe take some turns. You be our eyes and you be our ears. Eyes don't matter in this case. And I'm going to ask Jennifer, Dr. M, and Tama, if I'm pronouncing your name right.
Tomash.
Tomash, I'm sorry. Thank you, Tomash. I'll ask Jennifer, Dr. M, myself, and Tomash to count slowly from 1 to 10. And you're going to listen, Andrew, for whether you can hear us over each other. That's the way to test this. And then we'll let Jennifer hear it. Okay, well, maybe we'll count. Okay, count to 7. Okay, here we go. We're on the count. I'll count down. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2,
2, 3,
3. Jennifer, unmute yourself, Jennifer.
6, 5,
6,
7.
7.
7.
What
This is so silly.
what did you hear?
8.
What did you hear, Andrew? Did you hear us? Did you hear us talking over each other or not?
I did, yes. But do it one more time. Just count to 5. Let's do it one more time.
Okay, Jennifer, you were muted
Jennifer
before.
she was muted.
Let
Yeah.
me let you
Wouldn't it work
listen.
better if we just say a sentence that's different from each other? Like each of us just like say a couple of sentences that are different from each other. Wouldn't that test this better? Because if we're counting
Okay,
together,
we can all try to talk each other. We can do that too. Sure. Jason, you want to join us? Anybody else? Anybody in the audience who wants to join us? Come on up. The more the merrier here in this kind of a test, especially. My other test is usually to have people call off one at a time. Some of you have heard me do this. Call off one at a time the city and state that you're in and the weather. Maybe we'll do that in a second to show that people don't all talk over each other and how you set that kind of thing up. But right now we are testing. I don't know what the audio phrase is these days. Back in the day, it was called full duplex. So that's the term I will use until I'm corrected.
yes, that's great. I mean, it's still the modern term as far as I know, George.
Really? Oh, okay. I'm surprised that it's lasted because it's anomalous in some ways. Okay. So what are we doing? Jennifer's going to listen and
I thought I was listening. I thought I was a listener.
And Andrew and Jennifer are both going to listen. And then George, Jason, Dr. M, and Tomash, and Annette let me just get a second to get Annette up here because she requested to, and I'm going to leave Annette out. So all the rest of you are going to just say one short sentence. I'll count down from 3. 3, 2, 1, go.
Just
I am
the
giving one
idea
sentence.
to
This was
say
Dogs are amazing.
different
we are all
from each
talking
other
at
is
once.
absolutely
I
ridiculous.
appreciate it.
Dogs are amazing.
It was really interesting because we didn't need the listeners. We didn't need the listeners because I'm hearing it in my own ears. I'm hearing everybody
right,
over
monitoring.
each other. And
this is beautiful.
It was
I love
great.
This is going to be a game changer.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you, because are you people interested in some of the history? I'll try to make it brief.
Interactive mode.
Yeah.
I love this, George. I actually have to leave. I have a meeting in 15 minutes that I need to prep for, but I love this test. I can't wait to hear the results from everybody.
Oh,
and
great.
I'm super excited that Twitter now has this ability to not overblow each other when we talk over each other.
Well,
so
keep an eye out, Jennifer. I've already published 3 articles on the interactive mode. I'll tweet it out a bunch of times more. And
I'll look for it.
And I'm now motivated to do some more training on it because we're not fighting everything.
Yep. Love it. Have a good one, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much,
See you, Jennifer.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Somebody just requested, let's see here. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Now, George, just so you know that when I put on the mic earlier, I was actually walking over the bridge over the M25 in the UK. I just thought I'd add some ambient noise to check whether you could hear it.
That's really cool. We had a guy I don't know if you were in the space where there's a guy in Saudi Arabia. He was talking from his phone and he reached a checkpoint. And he said, I'll be off for 5 minutes. If I make it through the checkpoint, I'll be back on. If not, I may be under arrest. So he stopped. He went through the checkpoint. He got back on again. And he said, there's sand from horizon to horizon. There is not a single structure or person or vehicle in sight or camel in sight. And there I am in the middle of nowhere in a surprise checkpoint. And we all went through his checkpoint kind of with him.
So George,
yes.
we can test. How about we scream at each other now?
No, I don't want to do that. That just gets me.
Kidding.
Also, by the way, the Graciela and Peaceful Warrior, I see you've got your hands up. My style is not to call on people. Jump in when, as, and if you're ready, and just let social appropriateness be your guide.
Let talk over take over.
Yeah, I'm over
Yeah.
here laughing out loud with all of that, and Dr. M saying how this attempt was something ridiculous, and I'm just laughing over here, and Jennifer talking about dogs, and I don't even know what else I heard, but it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Hey, George, I hope you don't mind. I just posted the view that I have at the moment as I'm listening to you guys. So you get a sense of where I am.
Oh man, oh my
Now,
God. That is so cool. Look at that. In the nest is where Andrew is.
Got it.
Cool.
Oh, very nice, Andrew.
Dr. George.
Yes, sir.
I may be asking the obvious, the old Captain Obvious thing, but so this has been beta tested, but not rolled out yet?
We don't know. I mean, I thought we actually had kind of duplex. I thought it was, I thought we did have kind of a version of duplex. It didn't sound to me that bad, but Jennifer picked it up, and I think I'm picking it up now too. It sounds better. Now, I don't know if it's our imagination or not. I don't think it is.
I don't think
this morning.
No, because I've been in rooms where people are talking all over each other and it's all gibberish. You can't
hear it. Exactly.
Right.
That's what I was going to say. That happened to me this morning. I was co-hosting a space, and we could not speak with at the same time with each other. Not even two people be unmuted at the same time. It was ridiculous sound quality.
Oh, in where? In spaces?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. See, I do a lot when I'm moderating. I call it facilitating. I do a lot of yeah, got it. Yep. Because of the reasons I mentioned before. And sometimes it does cut people off a little bit, and they stumble and they stop. Now, there are people whose brains can't take it in if I'm doing that. So if I hear that, I just stop it. So
could it be a double-edged sword, though? Could it be blessing and curse?
Yes, if you don't know what the people who are not good moderators, and now I'm using the word moderator appropriately, someone who moderates, who gets things into control. Yes, if you don't have the moderating skills and don't know that that's happening, it can be a problem. But if you do have the moderating skills, the interactive groups are incredibly better. And that's the thing I was going to mention before. We discovered this 50 years ago in focus groups. Focus group was discovered because individual interviews were terrible. When you interview somebody, you don't get into any great depth. It's very hard. They clam up. They don't remember things. They don't get in touch with their feelings. There's a lot of problems with interviewing. And the sociologists, psychologists, and anthropologists discovered this and were bemoaning this 60, 70 years ago. They discovered the focus group. It was originally the focused group discussion. Robert Merton invented it. And he would get people together in groups, but he would interview them individually, but in a group so they could hear each other's answers. And he found out that their answers prompted other people and stimulated their ideas and their memories and all of that. It was much richer. And then a few of us, myself and a few other people, discovered that if you let these people talk to each other and question each other instead of from the interviewer, you get another level, 10 times to 100 times more depth and breadth and genuineness from the group. And that's what we discovered 50 years ago. People were very resistant to it. That is, the focus group moderators of the time were resistant to it, and a bunch of us trained them all in how to do it. And the rest is history. Now it's very rare to find a focus group moderator that doesn't let the group talk with each other. I would so much so that I would say that isn't even a focus group. I call that a serial interview. So anyway, this is going to tremendously increase, that is, the responsiveness of the audio. If it isn't just a test, maybe it's I don't know. It's not the kind of thing engineers like because there's a potential for chaos.
Yes, exactly what I was going to say.
Yes.
Okay, if we throw out the raising of the hands, isn't there the potential for chaos?
Yes, but you got to have those skills. I did groups for 50 years without hand raising. In fact, when there was no way to do it on a telephone conference call, first of all. But the engineers kept trying to convince me to put something in like that, a little beep tone or a little whatever. And I always resisted it. And I never, so for 50 years, I did 10,000 groups, audio only, with no hand raising. And it works fine. You just have to have techniques.
Right. And
Hey, George,
with different
are we
numbers?
talking that there's a, oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. You can talk over me. That's what it's all about.
No sorries needed. No sorries needed tonight.
I love you, Jason.
Are we talking that there's an audio upgrade? I got here late, George.
Okay. Now, okay. Before I answer you, Jason, notice what just happened. Let me make a process comment. Jason and Michael. Is your name Michael Peacewary?
Yeah, yes, it is.
Okay, Michael.
But you can call me Peaceful. That's okay.
Okay. Jason and Michael started talking over each other. Okay, and their social graces were there, and it worked fine. And I didn't jump in and do anything. Now,
yeah, we figured our own stuff out.
Yeah, and that's what happens 99% of the time, literally 99 times out of 100. The one time it doesn't in 100, here's what you do. Jason and Michael start talking to each other, start talking over each other again.
Jason, just love the way you conduct your hosting of.
Talk over each other.
Oh yeah, I'm being too polite. I'm just like waiting.
Okay, wait. I think Jason. Wait a minute. I think that Jason and Michael were talking at the same time. I think Michael was first by a bit, and then we'll get to Jason. Go ahead, Michael. See, that's it. That's all you have to do to sort it out. That's all. Now, for 3 people or 4 people, 5 people talk. Okay, I think Andrea and Graciela and Michael and I think several, or just say, look, hold on, several, and of course you can do. We have the mute everyone button on Spaces.
Yeah.
God knows why they haven't put that on. God knows why they haven't put that on Clubhouse. That's one of the reasons I won't go to Clubhouse.
Got to reset. You got to reset.
Right. So so let's say 10 people talk at the same time. It doesn't matter. I mute everybody and I say calmly, oh, okay. I think that sparked a bit of a thing here. I hear the energy there. Several of you started to speak at the same time. Who would like to go first? Now, most of them will hang back at that. And 1 or 2 people, and one will defer to the other, and that we'll be off and running. It's not a big deal. Although it takes a lot of practice. When I trained moderators to be my focus group moderators, the hardest thing to train them to do was to interrupt somebody else graciously and productively. So if somebody's going on and on and on and on, I won't let them do that in a space. I will stop them and say, wait a minute. In an audio space, I can only get 1 or 2 ideas at a time. Just help me so I can write it down. What's the main point you're making here?
George, can I add a bit here?
Of course. You've heard me in action a lot.
You have that page in your just lists, dozens and dozens of phrases, you could say. That's really, that page of your MindSkills, that really helped me to kind of, basically put it in my brain that there's many ways that you can interrupt someone and have it not sound rude or offensive. So I think, so that's a good reference for this particular topic of, interrupting someone without being rude or offensive.
Thank you. Great. Graciously and productively. I love that.
Yeah. I just I'm trying to find that page. If you could find it, Dr. M, while I'm running the group, because I just hate to look away from the screen.
I am driving.
You're driving. Oh, that's right. Yes. It's that time of day. But you'll be home real soon now. You're usually home by around 5.
Leaving late, a little later, so
okay.
not for another half
I'll see if
hour,
I can.
yeah.
I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah.
But I will. I have dozens of phrases that you can use to interrupt
Dr.
people.
George.
Yes.
Dr.
Just George.
Yeah, George. I always like to speak with respect.
No.
What is the advantage of this then? I think I'm maybe don't have the concept of, because if several people or 3, 4, 5 people are talking at the same time, the human brain, I don't think, can process all that.
No, I'm not advocating that. They will defer to each other and stop doing that. But what's good about it is you get some, if you can get people to unmute their mics, what happens is you get audio feedback, those audio gestures I was mentioning. You get yep, got it, yep. And also here's a really interesting thing. This is from 50 years of focus group moderating. I'd be running a focus. This happened in almost every single focus group I did. This was not a rare event. This happened usually 2 or 3 times at least in every group I ever ran. What would happen is somebody would be talking and I'd hear somebody be clearing their throat like that. And I trained myself to be very sensitive to that and to see who it was that did it, because I'm looking at the screen. And I had a better talker ID than Spaces does, that little blue thing next to the speaker or host word. Is just terrible. It should be around the whole picture very prominently so you can really tell who's talking. But nevertheless, I would know, and I say so I see that Michael was about to say something. Michael,
well,
go ahead. See, that's what happened. I could hear that he was I could hear that he was clearing his throat and beginning. Now he's probably doing it intentionally to see if I would pick it up. But I expected somebody would try me on that. But this is not my first rodeo, guys.
Right.
So you can hear that somebody's clearing their throats, about to talk now. Let's say that person, you're half an hour into the group and that person hasn't talked yet. So I know what's going on. This is a person who's a little more reticent, has been trying to get in, probably cleared his throat a couple other times, ready to get in. Maybe he's a little nervous and that's why he or she is clearing their throat. And so I then gently invite them in. I don't like to call on people, but I can say I see several people. I see that so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so we haven't heard from them in a little while. Who would like to jump in here? I can hear that Michael's ready, so I'm ready for him. I still try not to call on him, try to do as gently as possible. And then if he doesn't come in, I've got 1 or 2 indications that he's been clearing his throat, and I'll just say, Michael, were you trying to say something before? And sometimes he'll say, how did you know? And I'll say, oh, I love that blue shirt you're wearing. And of course, blue shirts are more common than other shirts. And so I
am wearing a blue shirt.
Okay, so sometimes that really freaks him. How did you know? Oh my God, and nobody really believes it, but it makes for some lighthearted humor. Don't forget, I was doing because it was telephone groups. The rationale for telephone groups, because people never believed me when I said that they are better groups in that people open up more. So I think a telephone focus group is better than a face-to-face group, but nobody believed me. And to this day, they probably don't believe me. Well, but what they did believe was I can get anybody. I can get congressmen, I can get Fortune 100 presidents, I can get Nobel Prize winners, et cetera, et cetera. And I have done all those categories. So if somebody wants a group of experts, that I was the only game in town for 2 decades, made millions of dollars doing it. If you needed to speak to the leading medical experts in any field, I was the only guy in town. Every pharmaceutical firm in the country came to me for those groups. So, but it
George,
yes,
I'm not sure if we answered my question. Was there an audio upgrade?
I'm sorry. Thank you for being persistent.
No, it's all good. I'm taking notes.
Jennifer Navarrete thinks that there is, and we think, Dr. M and I think also that we perceive it. What's your stand on it, Andrew? Do you think are you hearing? And Tomash and Michael, do you think does it sound different than it did before?
Oh yeah. Well, this did as a test, but Graciela and myself, I think, experienced that it's not going over now. Yeah, if I understood Graciela.
You mean it's not going everywhere? You mean?
Right. That it has that an upgrade or
maybe that's a limited test. If it's a limited test, I must congratulate them. They picked the right guy to give it to, because I'm going to go crazy with this and run with it.
Do you find that on radio talk shows and by extension podcasts use this technology, or do they have filters?
They have filters. They are very concerned with control. They are utterly obsessed with two things: people talking over each other, which they view as losing control. I only view it as sometimes losing control. And silence. Silence in the radio, even a 1 or 2 second silence on the radio is deadly. I get this. I understand it. And if I were a radio broadcaster, I would exactly feel the same way. That 1 or 2 seconds of silence is the most you can tolerate. You've got to jump in, step in, do something, because people are turning their dial. There aren't dials anymore, but you know what I mean. They're scanning, and if they hear, if there's 1 or 2 seconds of silence, they're going to go over your radio station. So there's a big reason why you should not allow. Now, on the other hand, in a focus group, that was my number one tool. Now, if those of you who know me, know that I'm very verbal and very vociferous and very assertive. But I can listen to a focus group for an hour and a half and not say a thing even when I'm running it. Believe it or not. I mean, I've had clients say, "George, I know you very well. Been traveled around the country with you, and I can't believe that you asked like 2 questions during the whole group. You really know when to shut up and listen." And so I pride myself on that. So I think that when using silence as a tool, see, silence is intolerable to people on audio medium. So if I put out a question and nobody answers it, my best tool is to let the silence hang in the air. Just hang. Because I've trained myself to tolerate it more than anybody else in the whole world. So I know I can outlast them. If it's really feels it's getting awkward and I can hear awkward noises, then I will say, I hear you all thinking. I'm just going to give you space to think. And whoever is ready, just jump in. And that's all it takes.
George, how did you become aware that there has been a change to the audio?
I didn't pick it up. Jennifer Navarrete picked it up in Madeline Sklar's space on the Twitter.
Okay.
The all things audio space an hour ago.
Right. So George, you didn't beta test?
No, nobody's told me that I'm in a part of a beta test.
Oh, because I was going to ask, did what's his name, Jocelyn or Gilad, were any of those guys involved in sending it out?
No, not that
George,
I know of.
You have both spaces, chat and clips.
I do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes. What's her name? Quinn was gracious enough to give me chat like a couple hours before she changed jobs.
Those are, I mean, the chat is, especially as you know from like Twitter audits and whatnot, the chat is so useful. I don't have either of those functions.
Yeah, it's really really wonderful, and you'll see me putting a lot that to a lot of use in the sessions that I start to run. I hope you'll try. I don't know if you have it, Jason, but I hope you'll try it tonight and with your scientists. And happy to help out any way I can. But I
I
understand
was
you
just
have
responding in the chat. We don't have it yet. I'm really looking forward to getting it, just because we get a crowd of people, and some people are shy to ask their questions. Or
how many scientists? You have a panel tonight. How many on your
tomorrow
panel?
night.
Tomorrow night. I'm sorry. How many do you have on your panel?
We have I've got 4 nuclear engineers, and they're all experts in a different area of nuclear power.
Do they know each other?
Yeah, they all know each other. Yeah.
Okay, and tell them. I would strongly advise this, and I'll be glad to come and help out if you want. But tell them to call each other by first name, especially since they all know each other, and pose a question and say, just discuss among yourselves, as the saying goes.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. I read your books. I read some of your books, and there's some tidbits in there. So I have 10 questions that they're going to answer, however they see fit.
Right. You might even mention, we've all been to these deadly panel discussions where one person talks and talks and talks and talks, and then the next person talks and talks and talks and talks, and we go on, but people have things to say to each other, and they know where their expertise is and is not, so they will pass off to each other. So we're not going to have that kind of a stilted one turn at a time panel discussion. A panel serial speeches. We're going to have a discussion, and tell people that and let her rip.
Yeah, and I found I'm a bit of a nerd, and I've been to these Comic-Cons, and they have quote unquote panels, and the best ones are where there's like a whole bunch of actors and actresses from a TV show, and instead of them going down the line, they all kind of like talk at the same time, and they're making jokes at each other, and it's the most engaging way to listen to some people answer a question.
Yep. And you know where you can hear this a lot? Somebody pointed this out to me. The NFT people and the Bitcoin people. Now, I'm not interested in NFT and Bitcoin. I think they're bubbles, but that's a whole other discussion. But I've lived long enough to see a whole lot of financial bubbles, and this has got all signs of it. But those guys and gals really know how to talk to each other. And a lot of it is not about NFT and about Bitcoin. It's about the social aspects of talking to each other. And a lot of their groups are just informal, back and forth discussions. Nobody's calling on each other. Nobody's raising their hands. If you heard an audio tape of that, and with no visual input whatsoever, you wouldn't even know who's the moderator. You absolutely wouldn't know. So.
If I got a question, Jason, did you schedule that? Is that out there?
Yeah, I put an ad out about it. I can put it up in the nest if you'd like, with your permission, George.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, I was curious. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Anytime, of course. So it sounds like we have accomplished our objective, which is to see. Well, now I don't know if I've got this and other people don't, or what. I don't know what the status is.
Jason, when is that panel space?
Yeah, it's coming up in the nest. It's tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern, 6:30 my time. I've got four nuclear engineers. They're younger, but they're no slouches. They're geniuses, right? And wrangling scientists for these panels, like I've always wanted to do these, but it's really tough getting everybody's schedules to mesh when you're not like a scientific organization, just like some dog account on the internet.
The schedules are harder, but the getting them is easier. I'll tell you why. When I was inviting for all his experts panels that I was doing, the experts discussions I was doing, I would call somebody up and say, you know, we're calling the world's leading X. And you're, of course, on the list. I'm calling so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. But, of course, you're the first one I called. But here are the other people that I'm calling, and I hope that they will, some will be able to join us. And that person's very flattered, and he says, yes. Now I call the next guy or gal and say, you know, Dr. Jane so-and-so is going to be on it. Oh, I know Jane. Yeah, I'd love it. Okay. Would you like to be on with? Oh, I'd love to talk with Jane. Yes, yes. So now Joe has joined us. So now I call the third one. I say Jane and Joe are, you know, your friends Jane and Joe are there, and you know, they gave me a list, and you're on it, of course, and they'd love to, you know. And by then, it's almost rude for them to say no.
It's like peer pressure.
Right. But it's good peer pressure. You
Right.
know?
Positive peer pressure.
And a lot of them told me that they don't get to talk with each other informally because they're parts of all these formal panels at all of their conferences. So they love the opportunity to do it and to talk about what are you working on next. And the thing about experts, as you've no doubt discovered, is that they know the limits of their knowledge and they're able to say, you know, we have discovered this. This is pretty much verified. This we think we know. You know, they know the epistemological status of what they're talking about. So we think we know this, and this we're hot on the heels of. We think we're going to get the answer in the next year or two because of these studies or because of this or whatever. Or this is a subject of high conjecture and dispute, and we think it's going to get resolved in the next year or two. So, you know, the old expression, as the island of knowledge increases, so does the shoreline of ignorance. But they know where that shoreline of ignorance is. That's the difference between an expert and a, I don't know, whatever.
That's the difference
between
science and pseudoscience.
Right, exactly. They know what they don't know, what they do know, what they think they might know, all of that stuff. What they think is a good guess, but as yet unverified. What is pretty much settled, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And nothing's settled in science, of course.
Well, the Earth isn't flat. Well, that's
pretty well settled. Yeah. And surprisingly, despite all the stuff to the contrary, probably the most verified thing is the theory of evolution. That has got so much. It's got more confirmation than any other thing, probably in all of science. But anyway.
Biology is based upon evolution. So.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I think my take is that we do have full duplex. I'm not sure if it's changed. I thought we always did have full duplex, but now I'm beginning to rethink some of the demonstrations, some of the things that I've done in the past that leads me to believe that we probably didn't have full duplex. We had kind of a semi version of it. And now, at least in this space, and at least in Madeline's space before, that was not mine, it was Madeline's. So at least Madeline and I have it. It seems like quite full, but we have definitely verified that in some spaces there is definitely total full duplex. Go ahead, Dr. M.
I was just going to ask, wouldn't I was thinking earlier, they could have just raised the bit rate of the audio. Wouldn't that achieve the same thing? You know, if they
that would, yes, that could quite possibly have solved the problem, a problem they don't know about and probably wouldn't acknowledge anyway.
Because space audio has been, you know, just in terms of, I don't know exactly what the bit rate is, but it's definitely lower than, say, Wisdom or Clubhouse.
Yes. So and you know who will know that? Yeah. Let me see if anybody's in here from there. No, I don't see anybody. But my live piano Avengers friends are professional musicians, and they are bemoaning the fact that they have lower audio fidelity on spaces. They have nevertheless, even with the lowered fidelity and non-stereo, the mono on spaces, they have gone to spaces because they were not welcomed well and treated well on Clubhouse.
Yeah, they moved to spaces from Clubhouse, in fact.
And I don't know what they keep giving me credit for helping them move. I'm not sure exactly what it is I did for them, except to encourage them. But nevertheless, we're thrilled that they're here, and I'm personally thrilled because I'm very into classical music. Not that they only play classical, but there are some people on there that are just world-class pianists. This guy Jun,
Yoon,
Yoon is
really good.
He is unbelievable, technically and emotionally. He literally brings tears to my eyes when he plays the Romantics, like Chopin. So that's it. We have a tentative thing to track down, see whether it's going to continue, or whether it is, or what. I think though you might be right. They might have increased the bandwidth. I hope that's not going to give us background noise troubles.
Right. I mean, that's the other end of that, right?
Yeah. When I tried my interactive mode, this demonstrations over on Clubhouse, I ran into two things that made it almost impossible to do it, which was, number one, people wouldn't unmute their mics. I couldn't get them to do it because it was so ingrained. But I kind of insisted and was obnoxious about it and got him to do it. But the other thing was there was additive background noise that you don't get on Twitter. And I was on with Matt a few months ago, and he apologized for all the background noise that I was on, and I didn't hear a bit of background noise. And he's from Ireland, and of course over there they call it a Hoover. They call a vacuum cleaner a Hoover. He said the Hoover was right behind me. I can't believe you're not hearing that. So we think there's some kind of gating or something, or it may have been it was mostly out of the human voice range, but I don't think that's true.
Dr. Berry and I were testing out the audio before our first space last week, and we were trying the microphone mode on the iPhone has 3 settings.
Yes.
Voice isolation basically being limiting, doing like a low pass filter and a high pass filter, and then the wide range. There was a significant difference. So on voice isolation, I would play music like relatively loud in front of me, and it wouldn't get in at all.
Yes, on voice isolation. On voice isolation, I can't do my sound effects.
That's right. Yeah. So I was playing it relatively loud. Exactly.
Yeah.
But then on wide.
You're fading out a bit. Okay, you came back. You're fading. Go ahead. Repeat the last sentence.
Through low reception on the freeway.
Oh, okay.
I was just saying on wide, there's a wide range or wide spectrum setting. That one is going to get a lot more background noise in, but it'll also get any sound effects or any audio in. So basically,
you're driving right now, right?
I am driving on the freeway, and there's some spots that get very low reception. So, yeah.
But there's no. It's amazing. Your Rolls Royce is really quiet in the back seat there.
Exactly. That's the voice isolation. Actually, let me switch it now. So
yeah, go ahead.
Right now it's on voice isolation, right? And
yes.
Now I'm switching to wide spectrum. It says, this is strange. It says wide spectrum is currently unavailable. I haven't seen that before.
Yes, it was unavailable for a long time. Mine is unavailable too. It says wide spectrum, but I'm on standard, not voice isolation.
It's because I'm on the AirPods, and so it works on the iPhone mic, not yeah.
Can you do voice isolation on your AirPods?
No, apparently not. So
okay, I'm going to play that sound effect once again with voice isolation. See if you hear it. Did you hear that?
Not, I mean, barely. I mean, no, pretty much it didn't come through at all.
Now I'll put it on standard. Did you hear that?
Much louder, clear, yeah.
Yeah, so okay, so it's doing, I think it's doing a lot more than just a low pass. It's doing something. It's very sophisticated.
Yes, right. It's not just as simple like isolating of the high and low frequencies or the middle frequencies, but they probably have it probably has algorithms that are just picking up whatever sounds like voice, however it does. So
yeah, okay. So I think we need to end it now. Boy, I forgot how much fun this is. Just playing around with social audio is really a lot of fun. Usually we have a subject and we have we have some work to get done, things to do, things to accomplish. But just hanging out is and doing some audio tests is really a load of fun. And I thank you all for joining it. I assume I came up in your notifications or whatever, and you jumped on, and so I'm glad we did this, had a good time, and thank everybody for jumping up and participating. And then I realized that some of you couldn't and didn't, couldn't, and we all recognize that. One of the great things about audio, social audio, I can be on social audio, listen while I'm cooking dinner. That's my turn to cook dinner tonight. So.
Oh, how often is that, George?
Yeah. So, okay, thank you. So, I'm sorry, you were going to say something?
Oh, I was just asking how often is it your turn to cook, George? I'm just curious.
I don't know. It's catch as catch can. It's just, it depends on my wife's therapy schedule and all that. And so she just stuck a note under my nose that says she's working till 6 and you can do dinner tonight.
All
so
right.
looks like
well,
I got to. Looks like I
so
have a half an hour to whip up. Quite welcome. I'm really looking forward to doing this audio thing a little more and demonstrating it a little more. Good night. Good afternoon, everybody. Bye-bye. Thanks again.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, George. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.